Welcome to another Boxscore Geeks show. We have a Kobe-filled episode. I am Andres Alvarez, a.k.a. Nerd Numbers. We actually have both of the other geeks with us today. I'll let you go in alphabetical order. So first we've got Arturo.
Hey.
And then Patrick. Hopefully with a more enthusiastic introduction than Arturo.
Last I checked, Andres came before Patrick in the alphabet.
But I introduced myself.
But hey, how's everybody going?
Well, let's be a little pedantic for the introduction. There we go. Now, I figure I'm going to talk enough, so I might as well just have a quiet introduction.
Yeah.
Okay. In case you're not following us, we've got Brian. If you could tell me your Twitter name while I'm talking, so I can remember it. We've got @Arturo Galletti on Twitter, @NBA Geek, @Nerd Numbers, and @Boxscore Brian. So first subject we're going to talk about is one. Somebody in the comments mentioned that we keep bringing up predictions a lot on the site, and maybe we shouldn't. And I'm going to respond and say we're going to talk predictions a ton over the course of the season. So one of the predictions we made at the start of the season was the Bulls could be a 50-win team. I'm not going to say I was wrong because I made a very clear sentence in the end of my article which says, if Derrick Rose is back. And, of course, we have the fun news on Derrick Rose going down. So I'll let you guys chime in because this was sad to watch.
Given that it's my model, I will kind of respond a little bit to that caveat, which is the best player is Jimmy Butler. It's still Jimmy Butler, right? They've got some good players around that. Joakim Noah is still there. So the Bulls are trying. They should still be close to that 50 wins. I mean, I think last year they won, 45, 46 games? 50 is not out of the range for this team, even without Derrick Rose. I mean, Derrick Rose is a good player, but, again, he's not as good as perceived. He's one of those guys that's a little bit overvalued. So the thing is, like, losing him is a blow because they really don't have any depth at point guard. But I'm not going to back off and say that 50 is out of range. Here's the thing: they might just completely tank. If they completely tank, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, I agree. I think Jimmy Butler is one of those guys. He's a lot like Kawhi Leonard. He's that unsung star that nobody really kind of appreciates. And I think he was starting to emerge. Like you saw last year kind of in the playoffs, and people were starting to realize that. And I think by the end of this year, people are going to recognize that Butler's a star the same way they kind of do with Kawhi Leonard now. But
yeah,
Rose was not the key so far this year. I mean, every win they've gotten this year has pretty much been in spite of Derrick Rose, who's just been awful. He's not been his regular self at all. So it's hard for me to see how not having Derrick Rose at all is going to be worse than having this really bad version of Derrick Rose that's playing 35 minutes and shooting them out of games. So in reality, I think they could totally win 50 games, but I think there's also I hear all these rumors that management is like, oh, well, now that Rose is out, we should try to pull a 1996 Spurs and try to tank, and then we'll get Rose back, and then we'll be awesome. And apparently Tom Thibodeau hates that idea, and so he and ownership are fighting, and who knows who's going to win that war. If they trade like guys like Deng and Boozer for pennies on the dollar and draft picks, then they're obviously not going to go 50. I wouldn't be opposed to them trading either of those players, but not for nothing, not for just future.
I think Deng gets a bad rap, but he's at the end of the contract, so it's not a bad move to trade him. I think you have to keep Noah, and that Noah's the key to that team. You keep Noah and Butler, and you build around them, and you get assets around them. So I'd be fine with them moving Deng to somebody like, I don't know, the Hawks is a name that's been mentioned. Anybody in the West, I mean, let's talk about, I don't know, Memphis. There's a team that would probably be willing to take Deng off your hands. So there are teams that you could actually make a trade for. But you keep Noah, you keep Butler, and I think Boozer's another guy. If you can get like somebody take him off your hands, then you're not going to argue too hard about it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like you're saying, a team that has Noah and Deng and Boozer and Butler, whenever he comes back, that team just isn't going to lose too many games, right? That's a good team.
No, I mean, I think if what I'm getting down to is, like, you want Noah and you want Butler, and you'd like to have, I forget what the name of their bench forward. What's his name? I forget his name. They've got a really good the young bench forward they have on the bench. I forget his name, but he's really good. They should keep him.
Oh, Taj Gibson.
And everybody else.
Was it Omer? Yeah, they shouldn't get rid of him.
Not actually the other one. So I'm just basically saying that, like, if you keep those two pieces, then you can trade Deng for assets. I mean, he's $15 million on his contract, so he's properly valued, and you can probably get something for him. So I agree with that. I mean, I just again, I don't necessarily trust teams to blow teams up properly. And when I say that, I mean like okay, so I'm not winning now. Let me trade this piece, right? This $5 piece for like, multiple smaller pieces that'll have further value. And in fact, I might trade it for a $5 piece like 2 years down the line, but because I don't need this $5 right now. And I think that's the trick to the whole kind of moving down the line. So I'm not playing for this year. But
the trick is to trade it for something that's going to be worth $10 next year or the year after that, right?
Agree to that.
Well, even if you're talking down the line, in the world of sports, right? We're at the point where only marquee players or rookie contracts are 4 or 5 years. So if you're going to trade for more than 2 years down the line, like you're hoping a team is giving away a rookie asset that they just hate. Which I could see Kenneth Reed is one of the few cases that counts as this, but those just don't exist. So that's the point. Is if you see a trade, they're like, in 3 years this trade's going to be worth it. I just don't believe you.
Well, no.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you a quick question. Who's the last guy on a rookie contract, right, who made an impact on a finals run? Off the top of your head, on a rookie.
Kawhi Leonard.
Wait, but he's not. But what pick was he drafted? Was he a lottery pick?
15th.
It's like 15th. So I mean, the point I was gonna make is and I should have said lottery pick that made an impact on a finals run.
Dwayne Wade.
Okay, I'll give you that one. But we've proven at this point that Miami's a smart team, though. We know that Pat Riley knows what he's doing.
Also, I would add to that Kevin Durant, James Harden.
Harden, yes, I'll give you Harden, but Kevin Durant wasn't on his rookie contract.
Okay, fair enough. But the point I'm getting at is that you don't. So when you're grabbing draft picks, you're not looking for one player. I mean, I think the word lottery pick is great. Even if they change the lottery system, it should still be called lottery ticket. Because really, what you're doing is you're just trying to get more. You're just trying to get more eggs in the basket to try and get that one, good player that will come out of it, right? I mean, there's two things you can do if you just grab a shitload of first-round draft picks. There's two things that can happen. One is you can draft a bunch of people, and a couple of them will turn into stars, and you don't care about the ones that don't, because you can just let them go or trade them for other young draft picks or whatever. Two is you can use them to package them all together and get a real superstar, like Houston did for James Harden.
And you always want to have guys on the rookie contracts because they're cheaper than anybody else, and they're younger, so that means they're getting better. So you'd rather have meat when it's getting better, not when it's getting spoiled.
Sure, and this came up along. We talk about predictions. People get on our case because, you guys are only right like half the time. What the fuck are you talking about? And the thing is, we're in a business, or I shouldn't say we are, but the NBA is in a business where if you're right half the time on your draft picks, you're doing way better than everyone else. Most draft picks like a 30 to 40% hit rate. So if you're talking about a hit rate that low, you want lots of them.
And most teams, that's what makes the lottery even more hilarious, is they keep giving these draft picks to teams to Charlotte. You're like, try again, Charlotte, every year. Keep going, Michael. We'll give you another shot. We'll see. You'll get it this time. And every year you just kind of look at Michael and you're like, what? Why are we giving you these lottery picks? And the Spurs just have to sit there laughing, knowing players are still available at 15, 30, and 60.
Here's why I've moved from the point where I thought that the league was never going to mess with the draft to the point where I think they're going to. Because here's the thing. We're going to get terrible basketball this year. Because we're at the point, I've got Knicks, Blazers going in. The Blazers are basically beating the Knicks by 20 in the second quarter. They're just killing them. The bad teams are getting destroyed. The Spurs just destroyed the Pelicans. I mean, the good teams, the difference between the good teams and the bad teams, the Bucks got destroyed. There's going to be so much bad basketball this year. There's going to become an issue of kind of product and how good the product is in terms of TV. And then you got to fix it. You got to make it so that you don't have the incentive for teams to do what Milwaukee's doing, which is people argue, no, they're not tanking. They're tanking. I mean, they didn't even try. I was watching that game. They weren't trying to win that game. They were getting killed. It's like these guys aren't even trying to compete. And when that happens, that makes the product really bad and, affects the quality. You're going up for a TV contract in the next few years. So you don't want non-competitive games. The best thing in the world is the more competitive and the more unpredictable your games is, like the NFL, the more money you're going to make on a TV contract.
I don't buy the predictability. Let's throw that out the window. The NBA has been at its best when it wasn't predictable. It's been at its best when big market teams have been slugging out against each other. Teams like the Lakers, and that's going to bring us into our next subject. When you're talking
Can I
about the TV contract being good, now we're at second segment. TV contract being good, you want an awesome team in LA. What is keeping that from happening right now?
Let me actually say a point on this, which is this looks like it's going to be the first year ever in the history of the NBA where the Lakers, the Knicks, the Celtics, and the Nets are not going to make the playoffs. It's never happened before.
Holy crap! And that's not good for the NBA. And
that's not good for the NBA.
Hang on. I think the Celtics have an outside shot at making the playoffs because, as you said, 37 wins is going to make the playoffs in the East.
And Rajon Rondo's not playing yet, so I mean they won again today, and so once Rajon's back, that team actually could get its way to 41. That's why we have the over.
They're very much like Philadelphia. If Philadelphia lets Nerlens Noel play, it's just the same as the Celtics. If they let Rondo play, they could easily morph into suddenly a 500 team, and a 500 team could totally win that division. And that's
Philadelphia is one of the teams that I like to watch.
I'm telling you, me and Arturo, we're both sitting here praying for Noel's doctor, making sure that guy comes back healthy, and that the Sixers let him play.
I already told my wife we're going to Europe if the Sixers win the Atlantic.
Anybody watching the Boxscore Geeks show for the third time now, which is awesome, has realized I just fail at transition. So our second topic on the docket tonight was Kobe Bryant's fantastic contract, which I tried to segue into, thought I had an awesome chance at. I'm just going to say it. Kobe Bryant signed for a $48 million 2-year contract so the Lakers could keep him as the highest paid player in the NBA. This was just Christmas to me. I could not believe it happened.
It's a glorious day unless you're a Lakers fan.
I'm a lifetime Celtics fan, and I couldn't stop giggling. I mean, I saw that come down, and I was like, initially the reports were 18. I was like, oh, this is a horrible contract. And then the numbers came down, and they said, no, it's 48 for 2 years. I mean, I had one guy I follow who's a Lakers fan, great guy I follow. I forget his name. I forget his Twitter name right now. But he had like a 6-hour breakdown on Twitter. It was just insane to watch because he's going like, this makes no sense. I mean, we're not even trying.
Crazy. I mean, so even if you live in a world that is not like our world, I mean, obviously everyone at Boxscore Geeks, we think Kobe's overrated. He's like, in the beginning of the season, Kobe was upset that his being ranked 25th. He said anyone that ranked me number 25th is smoking. They're on drugs, and we all said, yeah, because you're not that good. And so we obviously don't think Kobe is very good. We think he's horrendously overpaid, and this is going to be even worse. But here's the thing. Even if you totally disagree with us, even if you thought Kobe was like a top 10 or top 5 player before, this contract still makes no sense. He tore his Achilles tendon. Like, 2/3 of people that have that never play again. There are people that tear an Achilles tendon and never walk again.
Let's not overreact. It's 40% was in that paper, I seem to recall. Only 40%.
Yeah. Okay, but no, I'm not done yet. There are people that had torn an Achilles tendon that never walk right again. Forget about playing basketball. And to play if you think he's going to come back and be a top 5 player, I mean, if that happens.
And he was already terrible on defense.
Doctor, but I'm not going to bet on it. And why the hell would I bet $50 million on it when nobody else in the league is competing with you to pay that money?
Keep in mind, Kobe's already 1 year older than Michael Jordan was when he retired the second time from the Bulls. He's played 250 more regular season games, at least. I think it's a little more than that, plus the Olympics, plus the playoffs, plus everything else. And you're bidding against yourself, right? If you let his contract expire, there's nobody who has any money who's going to be willing to pay him.
We came up with 2 teams, Arturo. Remember, over in the pre-show, we looked this up. The Utah Jazz and the Philadelphia Sixers both have money to spend on Kobe. Did the Lakers?
And the Jazz are not paying him, and the Sixers are way too smart to actually pay him. So neither of those teams is going to pay him the money. Like, worse, somebody will throw $10 million at the Lakers to make him do something stupid. But it's insane.
My favorite part of this is the part where they said, A, we wanted to make sure he would be the highest paid player in the NBA out of respect, and B, we wanted to do it now before he comes back, just to prove how much how much we admire him, or it basically stunk of. It stunk of 2 things. One, it's either the rich kid in school paying the cool kid to be his friend, or it's the rich kid guy in prison paying the tough guy to protect him. I'm like, you guys are billionaires. Why do you give a rat's fucking ass what Kobe thinks of you, and why do you care if you have his respect? Why
Hey
are you
guys,
there?
let me ask another question. Let me ask a question directly related to this, which is, do you remember a while back when another team that Mike D'Antoni was coaching lost their star for a period, and they started playing this fun brand of ball, quick up tempo, taking 3-pointers, and like this, I forget what it was called. Was it Linsanity? Swept the nation, and then the superstar came back, who had to have the ball and didn't like playing that style, and it all collapsed. And now the Knicks are getting blown out by 18 in the first half to the Blazers. It looks like they're not going to win a game again before the end of the month, and everyone's going to get fired. So here's the thing: the other point is they're building something. Like Mike D'Antoni's building something in LA, which is not compatible to It wasn't compatible to Kobe's playing style before he hurt his Achilles. But now he's going to come back, and you're going to ask him to like play at the fastest pace he's ever played in his career and share the ball. Ooh, that's going to work out just great.
How long do we think after Kobe gets back on the floor, especially given this contract? How long do we think D'Antoni keeps his job?
I don't think it's going to be played out exactly like New York. I don't think D'Antoni survives the season.
Well, of course not.
I didn't think he would either, but I didn't think that had anything to do really with Kobe, and I still don't. I mean, I think there's a bit of an echo there. So I think there's a crazy expectation in LA. Right now, they're doing much better than we thought they would, and almost all of that is because Steve Blake is having a career year.
Jordan Hill.
Yeah, well, Jordan Hill is too, but have you looked at Steve Blake's 3-point shooting this year? It's kind of crazy.
And again, it's because they're playing that up tempo 3-point shooting style. They're playing that like all the pick and roll, everything's pass.
And I think D'Antoni's very smart to do that, because when you're a team that's practically an underdog from a talent perspective, what you really got to hope for is that you get hot from 3-point land, because any team that shoots 50% from 3 can win a game any night, and it can happen.
They're playing the 7 seconds or less style, right? Which D'Antoni wants to play, but he couldn't play in New York when Melo was there. He could play when Melo wasn't there, and he couldn't play it in LA last year when he had Kobe. So I'm telling you that Kobe coming back is actually going to make this team worse. And this isn't a knock on Kobe. It's just he's not compatible to the style that they're playing. And I was having this whole thing with like Laker fans like going off on me. I'm like, have you watched? I mean, I've watched the Lakers last year. I've watched the Lakers this year. This style does not work for Kobe. What? Unless you're going to make Kobe the point. And Kobe can't run that fast anymore. So I'm assuming he's not as mobile as he used to be.
Yeah, I don't know if I buy that. I think he might actually be all right, because, I mean, in a 7 seconds or less offense, you're talking, well, let's give Kobe the ball, let's have him dribble down and launch a 3.
No, but he has
to work pretty well.
But that offense relies on people moving the ball around. Kobe doesn't move. He's a ball suck. He's not going to move the ball around. It's not going to work. Offensively, it just won't work. He's not compatible.
3 points, guys. To Patrick's point, Brian just sent this along. Blake Griffin is shooting 46% from 3. Good luck if we think that's going to keep up. Another point we all made before the show is that Kobe taking this money, though, we seem to bag on Kobe a lot, but as a player, he has succeeded in every way you would want a player to succeed. Meaning, if I was an agent, not a star player, I would say 2 rules. Shoot as much as they let you and take as much as they give you. And Kobe has excelled.
No. This is not, guys, this is not on Kobe. I don't think this is on Kobe. Like, here's my thought for Kobe's agent. No, this was...
Kobe, 2 thumbs up.
No, this was massive.
Like we're bashing on Kobe. I'm saying at the end of this, I'm watching Kobe as a Kobe hater going, same with Melo. Melo and Kobe are 2 players I just go, I gotta tip my hat to. I'm amazed at you guys.
No, this is all about the Buss family. This is nuts. I mean, they're paying him $50 million that they don't have to pay, and why? Because, I mean, basically the whole press release read like, yeah, we're gonna give Kobe all this money. We kind of know he doesn't really deserve it, and it's kind of stupid to give him this before we even see that he's come back from his injury. But we're gonna do it anyway because we like Kobe and we want him to like us. That's basically what the whole press release reads like.
And we're gonna leave enough money so Max Guy can come and play with Kobe.
And who the hell is gonna want to do that?
I think the name getting thrown around was Paul Pierce. I'm like, have you seen the Nets play this year? Yeah, you want Paul Pierce to play with Kobe, and I think
Melo and Kobe on a team together. I couldn't believe Bargnani and Melo would happen. If Kobe and Melo happen, it's just I'll tear up.
Well, see, the Bargnani thing is I watch the Knicks a lot, and I find the Bargnani thing is an acid test as to whether or not a team knows how to run an offense. Because if you let Bargnani just stand there, he's okay at defense. If you make him move around, there's a great Deadspin clip about like Bargnani has no control of his body, which is great. Which is the Spurs are making him move his feet on the pick and roll, and Bargnani looks like he's going to fall on his ass because he just doesn't know what to do when he has to move. So it's like if you run a really dumb offense, he's great. If you run a really smart offense, he's no good.
Ryan's letting us know the next segment's about to come up, so I'm going to throw a big question out there actually to end this. Do we think Kobe, if he comes back healthy at all, has any impact on either the rules about medication or the medication used for health on players? I did a post on how not raising your eyes as this being performance enhancing on Kobe's part is just folly on the media's part. Do we think this changes the NBA's treatment of older players or players with injuries?
No. I think it's interesting that Mark Cuban came out for HGH today, which is he came out and said that he thinks that the teams in the league should get together and do a study as to what the impacts and the therapeutic implications are for HGH. I think it's coming. I mean, I remember the panel at Sloan where I was at with Kobe's German doctor who was just crazy. And he's like, no, it's legal. It's legal. It's a treatment that's legal. And then I was talking to the guy, I forget his name, who was the doctor for the 49ers and for the Giants. And he was kind of explaining to me, like, when they had the steroid era, the late days loss of work for the leagues went down to, like, all-time lows because people were using the medication and they were coming back faster, so the teams were losing the assets. Great, and the games were better because the talent was available, which is, kind of what you want. And then once the steroid restrictions came in, it's a curve that goes like this. So it had been going up, going up, going up, and then all of a sudden went down for like 5 or 10 years, and then went back to where it should have been, right, immediately after the steroid thing came out. So, again, you have to kind of start thinking about what you want. You want a better product in the sense that you want the guys to have faster recovery times, to have better quality of life, to have better careers, and then you really have to start thinking about, well, we're going to have to, instead of prohibiting it, because prohibition never works, you want to actually have control of it and regulate it. So you put it in, research it, and you put in protocols to actually do this. But if you just say, no, we're never going to do this, well, that's not effective, and then people are going to start doing it. Let's look at car racing. Like saying, oh, people always cheat. People always look for a way around it. And, if you watch anything on Lance Armstrong, you'll find out the problem with Lance Armstrong wasn't that he was cheating. It was like everybody in cycling cheats.
And I was
like nobody who's.
This is fantastic, and we should definitely do a full podcast. I'm going to let Patrick get the final word, and then we get to go on talking power rankings, which has a team we snubbed last week, Arturo.
Okay. I used to be married to a doctor. I got lots of friends that are doctors. I'm a huge fan of better living through chemistry and science. I've never quite understood the "it's cheating" metaphor. I mean, when you get an outbreak on your skin and you go to get like some therapy. Is that like cheating? Are you making yourself look more attractive with that steroid cream, and is that cheating versus the guy who has the naturally perfect, beautiful skin and never had an outbreak rash on his face? How the hell is this cheating? I don't know. If there's a doctor supervising it, I don't think it's cheating. I don't think anything around chemicals and science is cheating. That's just semantics, and that's crazy. And I know everyone is going to disagree with me, but I'm never going to change that stance. So, I mean, I'd love it if they just embraced it.
I love that as an ending, and again, I had absolutely no good transition. So, Arturo, you brought this team up like 3 or 4 times already, just in passing. I've got them updating on the screen, so if you see my eye flickering down, the Portland Trail Blazers are blowing out the Knicks right now, and they were a team we meant to talk on your power rankings. What the heck is going on with Portland right now?
Well, I think Portland's an interesting case. Partly it's driven by schedule, in the sense that, like, if you go through and look through all their schedules and all the wins. A lot of it is being driven by the fact that they've gotten a lot of puffballs on their schedule. They've also gotten a lot of back-to-backs. The win against San Antonio was on a back-to-back going to Portland, which is a pretty rough outing. I mean, this is not taking away from them. I think Wesley Matthews has been really, really good. Nick Batum has been good. Little has been good. And again, my draft model loved him, so I'm not going to kind of back off from that. I think the thing is, it's been interesting. The model kind of still thinks that team's going to come down once they start facing some tougher opponents. Blowing out the Knicks is kind of, okay, here's the thing. If you're a good team and you're playing at home, you should blow the hell out of the Knicks. The Spurs basically made them look like an NCAA team. The Blazers should make them look like a AA team. I think the Blazers are a team that should be taken seriously as a top 8 team in the West, which means they're going to win more than 50 games. Now, are they a top team?
That had Patrick all sorts of depressed before the podcast started.
I don't. So, like, when I played poker, there's a lot of talk about your true win rate versus your actual win rate. So, let's say you play 100 hands of poker and you win like half of them, and you've made this huge win. But a long-time poker player will tell you that's just variance. That's not your real win rate. I don't think Trailblazers are really a 50-win team. I think they're more I think they're like between a 40 and a 45 win team the way they are right now. If you look at it, they got a player on their roster shooting over 50% from three. They got 3 guys shooting 40%. I mean, they're absolutely red hot from beyond the arc. And I think Dre summed this up best earlier. He said either you believe that Wesley Matthews and Nicholas Batum are really as good as LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, or you believe that they're just kind of running hot right now and they're playing in lighter competition. I think the thing about they're a little better than we thought they were, because we thought they were going to be like a 35-win team. They're a little better than that, but I don't think they're anywhere close to a real 50-win team. Now they might win 50 games, but that's because they ran a little hot in the beginning.
Well, they're also really good on defense. So here's the thing that I respect is when you look at the numbers and you dig down, they're good at forcing people to take the shots that they want them to take. So they're good at running out.
Oh no,
we lost the audio there.
He usually comes back in. This is like
people off the 3-point line, which is actually kind of a really important skill now in the NBA. So they're
okay, you're gonna have to repeat yourself.
I'm basically saying they're pretty good on defense. Is what I'm basically saying. So I'm saying that
you cut out and then came back in with, and that's a really important skill to have in the NBA. It was perfect.
Now I'm basically saying that they're good at running people off the 3-point line, right? So that's a skill
it's really easy to make bad teams do that. I mean, I'm not impressed until I see them make a good team do that. I'm not going to be impressed.
I agree with you. I mean, they've gotten a lot of puffballs on their schedule. Their schedule's like 23rd right now in terms of strength, and they're playing in the West, so that thing's going to pick up. But as you say, they're a 45 to 50 win team, and they're better than we thought. I mean, I think you're right. There's going to be some regression on that team, and I wouldn't be surprised. It's kind of like, I do think there's going to be some regression for the T-Wolves as well. So it's like we're kind of seeing
that's already happened, Arturo. You're late on that one.
Yeah. So
I mean, notice that team's lost 4 games in a row now.
Yeah. So I mean, both those teams, and again, they have good young talent on that team, right? I think the issue with them that I have is that I think LaMarcus Aldridge is overrated, and they'd be better served like getting somebody who wasn't.
Why is he getting this credit? I mean, Batum and Matthews are playing out of their minds. Why is LaMarcus Aldridge getting all the credit? Because he's essentially exactly the same player he was last year.
Because he scores.
But I'm sorry, Wesley Matthews is hitting 50% of his threes. There's your explanation. Over, done, out, goodbye. It's not because LaMarcus Aldridge is any different.
Yay points. Yay points. You and I can look at it and go like it's basically Batum and Matthews, right? But the two scorers on the team are Lillard and Aldridge, and those are the guys who are getting the credit.
Right, but I mean, he scored last year too when they were bad. Even if you don't believe anything we say, even if you're all about only the metrics that ESPN gives you, you look at Batum last year, you look at Batum this year, and it's the same player. You look at Wesley Matthews last year and Wesley Matthews this year, and wow, he's so much better this year. And why does the explanation not begin and end right there? It's, I mean,
Wes Matthews is
to give Aldridge all this credit is just insane.
To be fair, I don't know if you recall this. Last year, Aldridge had a soundbite. I don't know the exact article. We might have it somewhere, where he said, "I would be a better player if I had better teammates." Essentially. So I guess he's right. I guess people believed him. They said, "Wow, he's got better teammates this year. He must be better." That's what he said. Okay, so there are 2 other teams we want to talk about. We definitely talked the Bulls a ton, but 2 others that were huge movers on your power rankings. I guess technically last week, just barely. You just came under the wire, Arturo, but your week 3 power rankings, you had the Memphis Grizzlies and the Pelicans were huge upward movers. Any thoughts on those? And also, now that Marc Gasol is injured, are the Grizzlies, are we right to be worried?
Well, no. I mean, here's the thing. Even though they lost to the Rockets, but I think it's more on the Rockets kind of correcting back this week. But we've said this before, they've got a really good set of backups for Gasol. They've got they basically stole your starting center, Dre, from the Nuggets. And Costa Koufos is pretty good. Ed Davis is pretty good. I think they
hopefully Ed Davis finally gets some minutes now.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're gonna play. I mean, that team isn't they can kind of survive. I think the problem is going to be, we kind of had them win the division, or as a dark horse to win the division. I think it's going to be a rough shot, particularly since the Spurs look like they're pissed at the entire league right now. So the Spurs are basically going out and saying like, "Yeah, we're going to blow you out by 20 points in the first half," and then just start calling people from the stands to actually play in the second half. But it's kind of, you know, I mean, I think I like the Grizz to stick around. I think they're going to be in that range with Portland right now, as opposed to being in that upper range. I think it'll be better when they come back. Gasol had not been playing well throughout the season. He just come back to form. Randolph is the one who's been playing pretty good recently, and I think Conley and Allen are playing out of their minds. So they've got their best players are still going to be there. So I think Memphis, you know, they're not as good as we thought they were going to be in the upper echelon, but they're still going to be in the 45, 48 range. And I think it's interesting. I think Memphis basically has to pray that when they get to the playoffs, they don't see San Antonio until it's the Western Conference Finals, because they cannot beat San Antonio. The way they're constructed, if you cannot shoot the three ball, you cannot beat San Antonio. If San Antonio could take one thing away from you and beat you, it's not happening. So every time I've seen them play, right now they're better off. They need to figure out a way to actually get there and not be the 8th seed, right? Not have to play San Antonio in the first round.
Well, you never know. Mike Miller could just run hot in the playoffs. It's not like we haven't seen it before.
Well, I think, but they're playing Mike Miller heavy minutes right now, and I think, you know, it's like we kind of know it's Mike Miller is like a running back that shouldn't take too much contact, right? So it's like you're throwing him out there and you're going like, ooh, you know, I'm drafting him, but I got to draft like I need a handcuff for him.
Like in practice, LeBron James broke him by like touching his pinky. That happened.
Yeah. Basically, yeah, those are happening.
So by the way, we've hit the 30-minute mark. I was going to say, Patrick, do you want to get last thoughts, and then we can do the sound off?
I actually think the Warriors are, as far as injuries go, are a much more interesting story than the Grizzlies are, because I think Iguodala going down really hurts that team. I don't know if you're agreeing with me or not, but
100% agree.
I mean, that's the. So I was actually kind of happy though they were coming down to earth, because, as you know, I got a bet on them to hit the under on 49, and I think they were starting to regress to the mean a little bit. But having Iguodala go down is really going to hurt that team unless Harrison Barnes has made a big leap this year.
We clearly said that the Warriors were a good team when healthy, but we didn't expect them to be healthy. People are going to get hurt. Curry got hurt.
Yeah.
Iggy got hurt. You know, Bogut at some point is going to get hurt.
It's a ticking time bomb.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a great roster if it's healthy, and it's also got like all these streaky shooters. But I mean, like the thing is, the streaky shooters come back down to earth. So I mean, again, the Warriors they're going to be in that bottom half of the Western Conference, and if they're healthy at the right time, they could scare the crap out of somebody in the playoffs.
Yeah, you mean the bottom half of the playoffs, right?
The bottom half of the Western Conference. I mean, like they could, you know, even with all their problems, if they were in the Eastern Conference, they'd be a chance. They could get a chance at a 2 seed.
Oh, you don't think they're going to make the playoffs?
I think a 50-win team, like 50 wins, might not make the playoffs in the West.
That's a good point.
It's happened to the Warriors before. It's happened to them being in that position before.
If you start counting off how many good teams there are in the West and how many bad teams there are in the East, like I mean, you could have a 50-win team and maybe even a 48-win team just not make it, right? You could have like, you know, the T-Wolves could be there. The Blazers are there, the Mavericks are there, like, you know, the Grizzlies are there. You know, you start going down the list and you're going like, you know, Jesus, there's going to be one team that...
For what it's worth, having watched every Timberwolves game, I don't think that team can win 50 games. Not unless a Derek Williams trade happened that I don't yet know about, that got them a good player. Because their bench is really thin, and essentially it's a team...
Luke Mwabute was the guy they got.
They got Mwabute? That's actually
it was flashing on the bottom of my NBA thing.
That's actually not a bad trade, and I'm looking forward to seeing him actually get some playing time. But I mean the problem with that team is that they have some very bad decision makers, because right now Corey Brewer's playing a lot of minutes, and I've seen it happen. So what happened is the first 6-7 games of the season, I think you all saw it on a lot of highlight reels. Kevin Love full court pass to Corey Brewer that led to a dunk. What's happening now is teams are getting back, and Kevin Love's still making that pass, and sometimes Corey Brewer will catch the ball just after the midcourt, and he'll be kind of even money with a player, and then it's Corey Brewer making a really bad decision. And they're putting the ball in his hands to let him make bad decisions way too much. They got to stop that, or that's going to really bite them in the ass. And then they live and die on Kevin Love shooting nights, which is not good, right? I mean, when Kevin Love has a great shooting night, then he's all-world. and when he has sort of a bad shooting night, that he's just kind of a mediocre all-star, and that's that's not a ticket to winning 50 games, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, they were a better team last year, and again, I know they got hurt, but they were a better team because they had a little more depth, I think, and that was actually
maybe Moot takes away Brewer's minutes because he's also kind of a defensive guy, and I think he's a better player than Brewer, even though he's had a pretty kind of meh year. I'd actually love to see that, but
Brewer's going to do the same thing he did with the Nuggets, where you've got this great team, and I mean that's what drives me nuts still as a Nuggets fan is you had a dynasty, like an amazing team. And I had to watch this team this team should have won in the 60s, the Nuggets team last year. And one of the players was Brewer. Brewer was the worst player with over 2,000 minutes to play in the NBA last season, and we're seeing it again with the Wolves this year.
Well, but that's not fair to the Wolves this year because this year they're playing Corey Brewer because he's literally their best option. That's how bad their bench is. Right? It's not like Corey Brewer is playing in front of Andrei Kirilenko or something like that. Their bench is just awful. Right? They got Robbie Hummel playing the three because I mean it's just not.
Yeah. So T-Wolves are who they thought they were. I think the Portland Trailblazers are better than we thought they were, and I think the Warriors are regressing to who they thought we were because again I think the Warriors, special case guys. We said they were going to be fragile, and they are. I mean they're it's just an H. I feel bad for them because it's a great fan base, it's a great team, but.
People call us crazy because they're like, you know how good Curry is, and we're like, well, yeah, but do you know how many games Curry's going to sit?
the thing about the predictions, and I think to get to that point, which is like, oh, they make the points. Like, look, we've talked about where we've been wrong, we've talked about where we've been right, and we're going to keep talking about it. But it's a long season. You're making a projection for the season, right? So
sure, but I think it's early enough to say that we, at least this year, we're going to be wrong about the Pacers. We're going to be wrong about the Trailblazers. And again, I'll go back to what I said. I do not think this is really a 50-win team when I look at the Blazers, but they're probably going to win 45 to 50 this year.
I was going to say, we're already doing...
And when it comes time to bet again next year, I'm probably going to take the under because I bet the line's going to move up next year, and I don't think it should.
I was going to say, we're doing our nice Kobe impression where we're proving we put the shot clock at 30 minutes and we went, we'll just go for 36 minutes. You almost got me. You almost got me riled there, Patrick. But I'm going to leave the comment on the Pacers. Maybe I'll write a piece this week about my
Thanksgiving. Where do you have to go?
I would just say I watched a lot of Pacers games last week, and you know why that team's so good? Because they play 90s basketball, and the referees let them. They play really rough, really physical basketball, and they do not. I'm amazed at what the referees let them get away with. And I'm not saying this I'm not mad about the Pacers. I think Vogel's actually doing a great job. And he's kind of recognized a trend where how the officiating's going. He's recognized what can we get away with, and he's making his team play that kind of basketball. They're frustrating a lot of teams. A lot of teams get frustrated. They stop driving into the paint. They just start shooting long jump shots because they're sick of getting the snot beat out of them every time they go to the paint. And the referees are letting them play really rough physical ball. And if that continues, they're going to keep winning games.
Yeah, the thing about that team, about that team, and I watched a lot of that recently, which is. Look, here's the problem. They're not great offensively, and they can get taken out of their game. So if somebody's willing to, like the best teams in the league, like the Heat, the Spurs, I think the Grizzlies, because the Grizzlies are going to be willing to go around and pound with them. There's teams that can just basically take them out of the game. Now, they haven't played a lot of these teams. But Chicago did it. Like, Chicago basically went down and just said, look, we're just going to take away – your offense isn't good enough for us not to stop it. They stopped, and they basically started throwing big guys at the center. And they can do it. I mean, like, there is a way. If you go out and you basically decide to just body punch for that team, you can beat them. And that's, I think that's what the limit is. I think, again, if they had an additional shooter, it would be a crazier thing. I mean, again, they're going to kill a bunch of bad teams. And there's enough bad teams in the East.
I think this might be one of the ways that our predictions were off. I think we didn't count on, just because the teams that have had soft schedules, they haven't just been doing well; they've been destroying teams, right? We look at Blazers and the Pacers. We kind of expected them to do well in the period where they have a soft schedule, but we didn't expect them to just be destroying teams. And I think that's going to happen a lot this year with, teams like the Pacers and the Blazers and other these good 45 to 50 win teams. They're going to just destroy the weaker teams because the weaker teams just aren't even going to try.
And actually, one thing people
cite anybody listening to because again, I think Arturo, you'd be the first to say you're not done with your model. Like you didn't go up, carve it in stone, put it in the top office of Boxscore Geeks, and say this is the model. for the rest of the history of the Box Score Geeks that we shall use. You went, here's my model, we're going to keep improving it. And so it should, watching us talk this season and collaborate this much should excite everybody. I will say we're at 40 minutes. I've gotten pinged a few times by Brian. I know that the three of us, if we throw a topic out, we'll pounce on it like hungry wolves. So I'm gonna say we should end the show. You can like do a haiku. Brian said, or the alternative, you can just keep going all night. But I'll say like end with a haiku amount.
It's the holidays. You can keep going.
I cannot do haikus. I can't. I'm sorry.
You can't.
I'm not that creative.
Oh.
I mean, I can write one down, but I can't go off the top of my head.
I can spend an hour and make a haiku, but I can't do one of them. If I get one more thing to say, it's that Michael Carter Williams is for real. Write that shit down. Yeah. Michael Carter Williams is the real fucking deal.
I paid enough money for him in our fantasy league, but yes, I've watched enough games for like. I mean, this is. I can't recall the last time I saw a guy. I mean, a point guard who literally he can go to the hole. He can block centers. He can go to the hole and just basically jump over every single guy on the court. It's crazy. He's actually like the game. His game reminds me a lot of LeBron actually, which is kind of strange to say. I mean, he's a little smaller than him in terms of like physical body type, but he's got that whole like he just does everything. He can steal the ball. He can go up.
Yeah,
he can guard it.
His shooting will come and go. It'll be a rough thing. It'll be a work in progress. But you do not average 10 assists, 8 boards, and 4 steals per 48 unless you have the talent to play in this league.
And they're already putting it like they're playing the Pacers, and they had him on Paul George.
Oh yeah,
basically it's like, and he was taking care of Paul George. He was so tall, he was bothering the hell out of him.
He had like 6 steals in that game. Yeah,
you're watching that game and going like, what the hell? I mean, this kid, he's like, I mean, I'm actually, as I said, I bring the LeBron James comparison because like if he bulks up, I mean, he's already tall enough to play different positions. He's playing point guard, but partly I think it's because physically he's still he's got that like Durant in his first rookie season physique, where like he's not physically as big as he should, but he still goes out and like kind of blocks these ridiculous shots once in a while, where like the center will go up and he'll just come out of nowhere and block it, which is like the last guy I saw doing that was LeBron. So yeah, no, Michael Carter Williams is the truth. I mean, I've watched him, and that team is interesting because there's these games where they shouldn't be in him, and they just go out and they just do these crazy things and come back. I think part of that is they play a really solid system, and part of that is because Carter Williams is just really good, and Spencer Hawes has been really, really good in that Spurs system, particularly like doing the Matt Bonner shoot for free roll.
Well, I guess technically because of the coach. So what's your last thought, Arturo?
Well, actually, we were talking a little bit about this, and I might write something up, but like soccer jerseys, the soccer jerseys for Christmas. And like, there was this whole argument. Nobody understands why the NBA is doing all these soccer jerseys with sleeves. And here's the thing, I'm wearing my Arsenal shirt, which has nice sleeves. And I've worn this to work a few times. So the point being is like the NBA jerseys with no sleeves, you can't wear around. So that means like this is why, the NBA goes out and they see people walking around with Manchester United jerseys or Arsenal jerseys or Barcelona jerseys with half sleeves. And they go like, I wonder if we put sleeves on our jersey, would we sell more? And like my wife, like immediately saw them and like, oh great, I can buy you that for Christmas. I couldn't buy you a basketball jersey. Now I can buy you a basketball jersey and you can actually wear it around when you come out with me. So the point is they're not marketing.
That's a good
point. Your
wife
will buy it to you, and so that you can actually wear it out to dinner or around on the town, which you couldn't do before. This is why the NBA is going with sleeve jerseys, because unsleeved jerseys cannot be worn around, right? So basically, they're giving away jersey sales by not having a sleeve alternative.
I will say, I'm actually going to put this on camera, so this is going out tomorrow, so it'll be Tuesday. If by next Monday, because we've got a holiday week, I think we'll put something out Thanksgiving if we've got something on the queue. If not, I'm not to read about it. If you haven't written something by Monday, I'll write something up because that you and your wife, that is just such a fascinating insight and so true. Like if you think about what the NBA should be doing, it should be trying to make money. Like you shouldn't fall when the league goes, well, we're gonna let a team go to Oklahoma City. You should go, why on earth are you doing that? It's a stupid move. When they go, we're going to make merchandise that sells, you should go, bravo, that's a good business move.
Well, my wife, who never watches a basketball game, was watching the game where the Warriors were having those jerseys. She was like, who's that guy? She was looking at David Lee. It's like, oh, he looks cute in that jersey.
Probably does. And the last thought I'll say, not a major one, bravo to Kobe. Fantastic. The only way he can make this better is if he requests that Carmelo Anthony come to the Los Angeles Lakers. And then we can just rename them, I think, the Washington Generals next year, and that would be awesome. That's all I got. anything you want us to do to sign out? We're out of time, Brian, and I'll let you. I'll stall a little. So if you type something to me, I'll end on that note. We can stop on a good note finally, and maybe we'll have a podcast where we actually go 30 minutes like we promised ahead of time.
What's time limits? Who cares about time limits?
I don't know why we make these kinds of promises.
I don't know. It's fun. It keeps you constrained. We think we'll go for 30. So hype the articles. We do have an article up on Kobe where we talk about his health. We just recently put an article up on Derrick Rose, what his loss means. That was Devin Dignam. Arturo's committed, so in the next day or two, you're going to see an article up on Kobe Bryant coming out.
And we're going to see an article from me where I went back to Vegas.
Oh, this is fantastic. So if you haven't seen, I know the last 10, 15 minutes of the podcast, Brian, I apologize because we switched topics so fast. Whatever you put up, I'll just be impressed. But yeah, one of our best articles is Patrick Goes to Vegas, where you put all of the bets you put down. You went back. Did you put down more money?
I put down money on some games. I think Vegas is now caught on, but there was about a month there where you could make a lot of money simply just betting the spread against the Knicks every game, because Vegas just had not caught on that the Knicks were terrible.
Well, I think it's more that people forget that the way Vegas works is Vegas is actually trying to drive the line. When I say
Vegas, I mean conventional wisdom.
Well, no, and again, I think you can always make money. There's a sucker born every minute, right? So you can always make money by going against conventional wisdom, where like conventional wisdom is wrong, right? So if like say Carmelo ever joined forces with Kobe, you can make a lot of money if Carmelo ever joined forces with Kobe, because again, what he's saying basically, it's like people shaking their heads and go like, why aren't the Knicks winning? Why aren't the Knicks winning? Anybody told you that the Knicks wouldn't win. Like anybody who knows anything about like basketball or about how teams are built or about gambling or about anything, any sharp told you like, no, the Knicks are gonna suck. It's not gonna work. And kind of same thing with the Nets. Like we're saying like, that kind of looks weird. They're old. So you can always make money by going against like the conventional wisdom when kind of when you identify the blind spots in conventional wisdom. So points is a good one. Yeah,
the Knicks. I lost a couple of bucks on the Sixers one night when I made an ill-advised bet, but otherwise the Knicks paid for a couple of show tickets and things like that.
Was that the Ryan Anderson night?
Yeah, I did not know Ryan Anderson was coming back, or I would not have made that bet.
We're like, no.
Yeah, that was literally like 10 seconds after I placed the bet. I was like,
everyone was like, no.
Teach me to not. Well, I was in Vegas. I wasn't actually, reading the news. I should have been kept up to date on the news.
Yeah. The other thing you have to kind of keep in mind is like, and again, I don't personally, do a lot of it, but you should always try to have the best information available. In that particular scenario, there are some conditions for that game that changed at the last minute that actually made it different for Patrick. And we're trying to warn him beforehand, but hey, that happens.
Well, you win some, you lose some.
But yeah, I'm.
Or if you're the Knicks, you win a few and you lose a lot.
We should ask the readers to like chip in some money, because frankly, if we sent you to Vegas once a month and just had a Patrick Goes to Vegas article, that would be fantastic. So we'll see that coming. Hopefully you enjoyed the podcast. You got 50% more than advertised, so put that in the bank.
Free podcast.
And thanks so much for watching.